it and why it was
Yeah.
closed.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go ahead. Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up. So anytime that, like Tu mentioned, in the office, they need to make sure they only have one request for that particular patient, if we're ordering one medication for them. So we don't want to have multiple active requests. Like over here, this is our testing patient. So obviously we're going to have a whole bunch of the same ones, but we don't want to see that in a normal patient. So like Tu mentioned, we want to make sure we close the request. If there is duplicates, just keep one that is active. And when you're closing it, you want to select the proper reason. If it is a duplicate, make sure you're putting duplicate. And then that way we have a history of it. Because if we go back to history and notes, you see how I can see what happened right here. I've closed this one saying that it was a duplicate. So I know who did it. It was Baker, which is I'm doing it, at what day, on what day it was done, and why it was done, rather than deleting it. I guess deletion can also allow us to see it in the history. Like over here, we deleted the Abilify, but it's nice to put close request because it allows us to put why we want to close it. Versus if we just delete it, it'll just say deleted. So let's go ahead and just put close request instead. Anything else too you want to bring up?
Uh, that's it. I'll just pop up some questions as we go along.
Awesome.
Thanks, Eva.
Thank you. And if anybody else has any recommendations based off their experience, please feel free to share. All right, so like I said, with the care providers, I'm not going to click on it just because it does have some of the care providers information, like their DEA number, and we're recording this. Just go ahead, navigate through it yourself. That way you can see what information is there. But like I said, it's their DEA number, the address for their office, etc., which is important information for the manufacturers. This is the main messages tab. Again, this is for all the patients. So if you just want to do a quick search for your patient instead of having to go to their profile and all of that, you can just go to the messages tab. I actually used this today to look up to see if we're using a particular medication. So I went to the messages tab and I typed in that particular medication, and everybody who was on it, I got to see, and then what their status was. So reports, this is like if you're interested in assessing how we're using TPC, what types of medications are being ordered. It's just like essentially it's a nice little collection of our data. It gives us reports like patient by supply, so who's using what, etc. So just I would recommend you go through it on your free time just to familiarize yourself with it and see what's offered there. So this research function is really awesome. Instead of having to use a separate website to see what medications are offered, anytime a medical student comes up to us and asks, hey, can we do this new medication for the patient? I'll just go to research, I'll press medication, and again, I'm going to use Advair. Let's say I didn't know Advair was offered. I can type it in. I'll press based off of the proper strength. It'll tell me who the manufacturer is. So here it says GlaxoSmithKline. It'll also tell me the different programs that offer this medication. So here I see patient assistance program. Zubex is not something that we use for our patients, nor are the one that's nor is the one that says South Carolina residents only. So it's usually something that says the manufacturer's name with patient assistance program. Restricted is it indicates whether or not they are accepting new applications. So let's say GSK sent out a letter saying we are no longer offering the Advair Discus. So if it says yes, it's restricted, that means I cannot enroll any new applicants. I can only continue ordering the medication for those that have already been enrolled up until their application expires. So that's what it means by restricted. So I'm going to go ahead and press this program, and then it gives me all the information for the manufacturer. It gives me their phone number, their address. This is really nice for the office in case they need to use it. It's also great for the clinics that are working in the day that need to look up quickly the manufacturer's phone number if they want to reorder. Also, if you need to fax anything, it has that information. It also tells you the eligibility. So let's say we want to know, okay, like, is my particular patient eligible? Well, here it tells me they don't need a citizenship. They have to not have insurance, which is the case for like everybody. And then for the FPL, that's just for their income. So they have to fall below the 250%. That's why I was saying early on, we need to verify with the patient how many are in their household and what their income is to make sure that when we send in the application, it doesn't, it's not done for no reason if their income is too high. And then it also gives us sometimes updates. So here, TPC is really good at updating their information. So it shows us Vermasys has been discontinued as of this date. So you know that, okay, this manufacturer is no longer offering it. It also tells us how much of the medication we would be able to get. Oftentimes, it's a 3-month supply. But some, I believe Lilly, will offer for a 4-month supply. And then their refills information, etc. And then here, sometimes it'll give you also the website to their patient assistance program. So right here, GSK Patient Assistance Program. Oh, and this is nice. I just noticed this. It gives you when this was last updated. So it shows April of this year. All right, so that's with the programs. You can also search by manufacturer. So I'm going to again search for GlaxoSmithKline, and it takes me back to the same location. So that was with the manufacturers, that was with the medications. Any sort of program changes. So let's say we want to look at any changes as of June. So we're going to put June 1st, 2017. So anytime you put in a date anywhere in TPC, it always gives you the information from that date onward, okay, up to today's date. So here it gives me all the information for any updates that may be necessary. See over here, GSK Ventolin has been removed in 2016, no more, or Velton, no more refills, etc. And then our user activity just shows us what we've done based off of user, when it was done, what happened, etc. So if you're, this is like nice to know if you're like searching for particular information. The supplies, we don't really have to worry about it. In the beginning, when we started using TPC, we were populating it with things that aren't necessarily ordered through TPC, but rather by the pharmacy, but we don't have to worry about this right now. And then for center admin, so this is really nice. If for some reason we were locked out of TPC from one clinic, but another clinic had access to it, you can manage the users over here and change the password. Just an update on iShare, which everybody should have access to by now. Thank you too for making sure that that's the case. We have a form that will show what the passwords are for each site. That way we can keep track of any sort of updates, because they do have to be repeatedly changed, I believe, on a monthly or bi-monthly basis. So anytime you get locked out of TPC and you don't know what the new password is, just go check iShare. We'll have one manager updating it on a monthly basis. This is where you can add any sort of letter. So let's say, we often use a no income form. So we can modify it here. We can make sure that we're updating it based off of what, the physicians would say, okay, is most appropriate, or the manufacturer's recommendations if they do change. List. So if you want to add in a certain allergy, for that in the drop-down menu when you're in a patient's profile, this will allow you to customize it and to add in whatever allergy you want to put in, or any income sources, etc. So anytime you want to customize a drop-down menu, try to come to lists and see if you can manually do it here. Otherwise, let me know or let you know, and we'll talk to TPC to see if they can add it for us. And then the customizing center, again, this allows us to manually update any information, such as how often do we want to put in the generate request form or follow-up reminders. This will automatically populate it to 7 days. Right here is where I told you I changed the default address for the program form to center. It was at patient, now it's at center. This is when we were populating the form to fill out, so that we can send in the application. And all this other information is good to look at and just make sure you're aware of. So that's my rundown of TPC. It may seem like a lot at first, but I guarantee you after using it a few times, you guys will most likely be amazing pros at it. Just keep updating yourself. Make sure you're going through it. Make sure you're navigating. Don't just stick to one area. Make sure you're familiarizing yourself with everything. And like I said, please, if you run into something that you feel like is an amazing feature that can be added and to make all of our lives easier, let us all know. Keep sharing with us all. Or if you have any questions, make sure you're asking. That way we can enhance the use of this program. Any questions or comments, concerns? What's up, Ashley?
Kiva.
Yeah.
So I have a question about requests, the reorder request. How does it show up for you guys? Because this was something Robin and I were really confused on, because when we catalog so when we first get the medication and we're logging it in, it asks us to generate a reorder reminder. How does that actually show up?
So, oh, you mean like how it does it come up over here or something?
Yeah, because from my idea was that I thought it was kind of like a pop-up that shows up and tells you, hey, you're supposed to reorder it now, and not something where, hey, you go look into the profile. Because that's what I've been doing so far, just going into the patient's profile and spotting, oh, hey, this one actually needs to be reordered or something like that.
Right. So, oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I haven't seen it come up where it populates a message telling us to reorder, but what I do know, if you go ahead on your computer, you click the messages tab, and then you arrange it by like the date. So you put in today's date or last week's date. It'll generate all the information, and then you can select, I believe, the specific message that you want to come up. So like if it's reorder, I believe you could type that in, and then it'll give you all the stuff that you need to reorder, and you can also further organize it by the clinic. Try doing that. Let me know if that works out.
Oh, no, it does work. I have been doing it that way, but then confusion comes when, because we're at downtown, there's Monday and then there's Friday. I'm kind of confused on if we should even do the reorderings and even checking in medication on Mondays, because it's just too confusing.
Well, maybe
but then like we have no manager at Fridays either, so
then maybe that's something that we need to discuss with the Monday, with the Friday clinic,
Yeah.
to see what the most effective way we can go about this, or just based off of their experience too. So
Yeah.
So Hiba and Ashley,
yeah,
Yeah.
so I actually been going to Friday clinic for a couple of weeks, and what I've seen is that uh, a lot of medication tends to get to downtown clinic on Friday, but not on Monday. So it doesn't show the Monday clinic that you've been receiving medications, but they actually do come mostly on Friday. And in terms of checking in medication, if you see them coming in on Monday, please still check it in like you always do. It's just you're not going to see it as often. For reordering, like Hiba said, you can go on messages, and every day when you come to clinic, you should have a patient list for that day. Just check to see if they need to reorder, and because Monday opens at 9, you can reorder it. Just put in a request, and then office will be able to order it for you. And one more thing about Friday Clinic is even though they don't have a manager there, they've been pretty good about using TPC and managing themselves without having a manager. So the way I see them reordering medication is that they, since they were still using the Excel sheet, what they do every month is that they will pull up the patient file and see all the patients in downtown clinic if they need to order anything for that month. For example, if there's any medication that's due to order in August, they'll order it at the beginning of the month. But that doesn't mean that they will cover all of the patients because they might miss something, or if that's the beginning of the month and you can't order the medication for that patient just yet. So it's always helpful to go back to the patient's list the day you're at clinic and just double check to see if there's anything that needs to be reordered. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool, thanks.
okay, I'm gonna stop recording this session unless you guys need me to go over anything else. Any other quests?